Let's once again applaud the sweet voices of democracy. I'm extremely grateful for your presence, and I want, with your kind indulgence, to acknowledge the presence of everybody here. You all matter to us. You are all distinguished personalities, and together we work to develop Ghana and the world. I want, before I continue, to convey to you the apologies of the leadership and the members of parliament here. As you know, today is going to signal the end of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. And the caucuses are having their usual meetings to try to ensure that we have a smooth and harmonious transition from the 8th Parliament to the 9th Parliament. And so they are over there now, and they took a bit of my time, which is what led to the late start of this whole ceremony. And so, on behalf of the leaders and members of parliament, I sincerely apologize to all of you for keeping you waiting, and we are extremely grateful for your patience and tolerance. With this, let me acknowledge the presence of my seniors. We have, as we've been told, our mother, the Speaker of the 6th Parliament, 5th Parliament, 5th Parliament of the 4th Republic, my Lord, Right Honorable Justice Adelaide Bamford Adu. I served as a majority leader under her, and it was a very, very important period for me, because I learned how to temper my vibrancy with her coolness as a very astute judge of the Supreme Court. And she tutored me a lot, and I took her as one of my role models. Before the Right Honorable Aaron Michael Quay, the professor himself, who took me in my early days as a very young MP as one of our resource persons in our workshops on democracy, parliamentary practice and procedures. And so I wasn't surprised that he rose up to become the Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana, and that is the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. We are greatly honored with your presence here, and I must thank you for the value addition to my life. We have, as we've been told, the acting clerk. He's not a new face. In fact, people refer to him as the face of Parliament, because he's been the head of the table office for a long time. And so anytime people tune into the Parliament of Ghana, he's seated there as the head of the table office. Mr. Ebenezer Ahuma Jethro is a reverend, and so he likes preaching, and I think it's now part of his passion. So we are grateful for the message, and what I'm simply going to do is just to emphasize some of the points they raised in their submissions and maybe add a bit of history to it as a student of history. After that, I'll ask some questions so that those who can tell me the meaning of Vasco da Gama, I'll give the person a prize. Vasco da Gama, particularly the meaning of da Gama. This one you should know, very simple. So let me thank you for making time to join us to commission the museum here in Parliament. As we gather today on this momentous occasion, we stand at the confluence of our nation's rich history and the vibrant future of our democracy. The commissioning of this museum presents us as a nation a unique opportunity to not only celebrate our past, but also envision the role of history in shaping our democratic journey. This museum stands as a testament to not only to the pillars of democracy that support our way of governance, but also to the enduring spirit of Ghanaian tradition and identity forged through ages past. In the words of Robert Hesslin, an American author, a generation which ignores history has no past and no future. This underscores the importance of history in our life. Our own Nelson Mandela tells us that our rich and varied cultural heritage has a profound power to help build our nation. And so our history, though turbulent, is a very rich one which we must preserve and promote for the benefit of the younger generation and those yet unborn. The youth and prosperity must appreciate where we have come from as a nation. This will serve as a useful lesson to avoid the mistakes of the past. The trajectory of our political history derives its source from how our society was organized prior to the arrival of the European explorers and traders, who named our land Gold Coast. And that is a translation into English. The Portuguese did not call us Gold Coast. They call us by the name what land? Who can tell me? This is how important history is. Del Minar. And the first people arrived as Shama in 1471. And so you can see the cross there at Shama. The trajectory of our political history, as I said, derives its source from our society, which was organized prior to the arrival of the European explorers and traders who named our land the Gold Coast del Minar. What land? Who can tell me? This is how important history is. Del Minar. And the first people arrived as Shama in 1471. And so you can see the cross there at Shama. The trajectory of our political history, as I said, derives its source from our society, which was organized prior to the arrival of the European explorers and traders who named our land the Gold Coast del Minan. This was followed by centuries of the despicable transatlantic slave trade through to the era of colonial rule. The resilience of our forefathers and their determination to reclaim self-rule led to a series of agitations and reactions that culminated in our political independence in 1957. Our beloved country finally attained republican status in 1960. The struggle did not end there. The country was yet to grapple with a series of coups that toppled the first, second, and third republics until the country's eventual return to constitutional rule in 1993. We don't need any evidence to tell us that what concerns us must be decided by us all. One of the main reasons why the 1992 Constitution stayed up to date is because it was the decision of all of us, not by any group in the society. Everybody matters in life. And we all drafted it together, and we all took the decision in the referendum, and we all felt that we are part and parcel of that document, and so we all decided to obey it. And that is how come, and that I said, one of the reasons why we are breaking the jinx, and we've been along this path for 32 good years now. Throughout these periods, Parliament has had its own unique history. The struggle for legislative inclusion and participation in governance dates as far back as the pre-colonial and the colonial era, when leading citizens of the Gold Coast agitated and demanded for the colonial government to allow for citizens' representation in decision-making processes. The Legislative Council was first established in the Gold Coast in 1866 to advise the colonial administration on enacting laws. It was, however, not until the 1888 that the first African unofficial member, John Saba, was nominated to the council. Don't forget that John Mensa Saba was the first full-blooded Ghanaian to be called to the bar in 1887 as a lawyer. But before that, there was one Liberian who was called to the bar in 1883. But his background was Portuguese, Brazil, and Gold Coast. The two families have been debating it. This is good information to the two families. And so if you talk about full-blooded Ghanaian that was called to the bar, is John Mensa Saba, 1887. But if you talk about a Ghanaian, you can call half-blooded or one-third blooded, but he was a Ghanaian. He is Ribeiro, who was called to the bar 1883. And I'm talking about being called in UK, not in Accra or anywhere in the Gold Coast. I know why I'm emphasizing this, because the two families have gotten in touch with me when I made a statement on the floor in Parliament on this matter. So I want it to be clarified. The John Mensah Saba was the one who led the establishment of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. And so he was the first African unofficial member nominated to the council. After several years of changes in the composition and structure of the council, the National Assembly was established upon the attainment of independence. These developments present a rich historical information for the establishment of a museum. The year 2023 marked exactly 3 decades of uninterrupted parliamentary democracy in Ghana. To commemorate this significant feat, Parliament, under my leadership, embarked on a series of programs and activities across the country to interact with citizens and bring Parliament closer to the doorsteps of the people. We watched with great admiration the enthusiasm with which Ghanaians came out in their numbers to participate in the games, the health walks, the mock parliaments, and the fora that we held. And very critical questions were asked about Parliament, about governance, and about development. Distinguished participants, we live in a world driven by an insatiable quest for knowledge. Our rich history has been but a whisper, an untold story, yearning for an audience. This museum stands not merely as a collection of relics. It is a chronicle of courage, a chronicle of sacrifice, and a chronicle of fervent hope of the people. Each exhibit in this museum will remind us of our journey, where we started, the trials we faced, and the unyielding spirit that has time and time again triumphed. A tour of the exhibition will reveal the vigor of countless individuals who sacrificed everything to carve a path for future generations. And we are happy and lucky to be enjoying this sacrifice. Their energy will remind us that governance is not simply an institution, but is rooted deeply in service, integrity, and vision. As I speak, I am reminded of the words of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who boldly declared, and these are his words: the forces of history and of our action, our own action, have brought us to the point where, with courage and confidence, we may venture forth to liberate our land and our people. This museum houses significant historical documents, documentaries, photographs, and artifacts that narrate the story of parliamentary democracy in Ghana, ensuring that future generations appreciate the sacrifice. Those of you who know history very well are aware of 1823, where the first governor, Charles McCarthy, led the war against the Ashantis, and what happened to him? He was beheaded. The British learned a lesson from it. So the museum will also play a crucial role in civic education, helping our children, students, and citizens in general to understand the importance of parliamentary procedures, the significance of their voices and votes, and the weight of those voices and votes in a democracy, so that they don't see democracy as just voting and going back to sleep. It is important to note that on the average, Parliament receives about 17,000 visitors per year, on the average. As a matter of policy, such visitors will be encouraged to visit the museum moving forward. All special guests, such as speakers and heads of state who visit Parliament, will be given a tour of the museum. Finally, the museum will equally foster a sense of ownership and pride among citizens in our democratic process, encouraging active participation in governance and an informed electorate. I wish to use this opportunity to express my appreciation to all the individuals and organizations who contributed in diverse ways to make this project a success. I particularly want to thank Mr. Richard Champon, our senior principal assistant clerk, and the committee members he introduced to you. I also want to thank the executive secretary and the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board, as well as all those who donated artifacts and other items for the use of the museum. We have also put in place some modulations that you will feel part and parcel of the museum as we taught through it. So we haven't completed all, but there is going to be some high-tech interventions that can be an attraction to give us more visitors to the house, to learn from our history, to participate in what we do, and to lead us to shape the Ghana that we all want. On this note, I wish to encourage each one of you to visit this museum, engage with its exhibits, and share stories of our parliamentary journey with your families, friends, and colleagues. Together, let us illuminate the path of parliamentary democracy in Ghana, fostering a future where every voice counts, and democracy not only for us to exist, but a democracy that is living and thriving sustainably. On this note, I have the singular honor when we go up on your behalf, on behalf of the leadership, the clerks, we usually refer to them the clerkship, the members, and their common name is membership of the House, to cut the ribbon to commission the Museum of the Parliament of Ghana. With this, I thank all of you for your presence, and may the good Lord continue to bless all of us and make our nation greater and stronger. I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Khemical TV, yeah. Khemical TV, anything goes. Khemical TV, for quality entertainment. Khemical TV, at the room. Khemical TV.